Demo lesson number 2, we are getting into the water cycle. So the first thing I like to talk about, which kids are very familiar with, is precipitation. So in the lesson plans, there is an introduction to precipitation, and it talks about rain, different kinds of precipitation. And also in the lesson, there is there's a handout that they can fill out as they go along. That can also be modified. So the idea is you are having the students create a watercolor picture. Ideally, you want a large piece of watercolor paper, and you'll find out why later, because we'll use these throughout the unit. But the point of this lesson is to have them create a water cycle. And what I mean by that is they are using water bottles and water balloons to simulate different types of precipitation. You're asking them questions as you're walking around. You're admiring their artwork. Oh, you sprayed that water bottle. What type of precipitation could that be? And then as the water is running off the paper, you're having grand conversations about what type of surface runoff it could be. And then, of course, when the painting is dry, then you get to discuss what happens to the water, what happened to the color, what's left behind. And I think there are a couple really great videos attached to the lesson plan as well. There's one, I think, that's about drinking dinosaur pee, because you are pretty much drinking refreshed everything. You could be drinking George Washington's tears, is what I like to tell my kids. So we start out with, obviously you want to prepare this before, so we have some liquid watercolor here, and I've only filled up the bottles just a little bit, a quarter of the way, if you will, so that way we can kind of get an idea. Yeah, of course it does. So we can create our beautiful watercolor painting using these water bottles. Now, we are indoors right now, so we can't have as much fun as your kids will have. But what they make is going to be fantastic. So I'll start off with, let's see, so that's 4 drops. And depending on how much water you put in, you might have to modify how much you put in there. So I just added a couple more. And if we start spraying ahead of time, I would go ahead and prepare these and test to see how much, I almost knocked it over there, to see how much color I needed. We're going to point this way and practice spraying, so the videographer will get sprayed too. How to work these water balls. We're going to have to pause for a second so we can figure this out. All right, so the caps, it says twist to open. So if you just follow directions, you won't look as special as I just did. So, all right, we got it? Oh, yeah. All right, so the kids spray. If it looks like you need more color, while you are practicing, obviously add more. As they're spraying, you can talk about that looks like heavy rain, maybe types of rain for thunderstorms. I did not add, before you start adding any of the other watercolor from the spray bottles, what you want to do is use your water balloons, because when you create a watercolor painting, the first thing you want to do is wet your canvas. So just take a step back. We got excited about the spray bottles, sorry. But taking a step back, the first thing you want to do is use your water balloon, which kids love. And these are the easy fill water balloons. You can do this at home, so that way you don't have any trouble and kind of bring it in a cooler. But they will simulate a type of precipitation with water balloons. And we kind of always like, what kind of precipitation does this look like? Everybody pretty much says hell. It slams down, it smashes, and it gets the whole canvas wet. So then that's your start off point. That and kids are playing with water balloons, so they love it. And then you move on to the spray bottles. You can add different things. One year I had little water guns that they would use. So it was almost like a light rain versus the heavy rain that these would cause. And then, like I said, you can't see now, but You know, some places in just painting, it's kind of pooling together. So you could talk about what types of body of water do surface or does runoff collect in. So it's a tiny little purple and blue puddle there. Versus mine is kind of like bowing in the middle, so it kind of looks like surface runoff of a mountain. And then obviously the conversations that the kids would have, you're talking about each other's artwork, you're complimenting each other. It's a lot of fun. It's a great lesson just to have really good conversations. And then we will do something with these paintings after they dry and after you have a conversation about evaporation. Again, if you have any questions, email.